Hey, welcome back to a very special bonus episode of Hero Talk, the mostly weekly podcast from Rooter Hero Plumbing and Air. I'm David, your host today, and with me is the founder of Rooter Hero Plumbing and Air, John Akhoian. Good morning, John.
Hey, good morning. Hello, everybody. So, happy to be here, David.
Yeah, I'm lucky to have you back on. It's been a while.
Great, yeah, it
Yeah.
has. So, today we're going to talk about long game, short game, something that I brought up and something actually I learned from my coach. And the way it came up was we were in a one-to-one and we were just talking about this, current situation I had going on where we were looking at bringing some private equity in to do a minority share at our company to help us do some acquisitions and growth and stuff like that. And as I was talking to him about some of the deal points that kind of looked frustrating to me and didn't look like it was fair, and he said something that actually stood out, and I'm like, "You're right, Don. That's exactly what it is." And he said, "Yeah, this is what he told me. He said, John, you're playing the long game, and they're playing the short game. So the problem is that you guys are not playing the same game, and by joining forces with them, you're always going to have problems because you're playing the long game and they're playing the short game."
Right.
And that made so much sense to me, and that was sort of like a epiphany. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? We are playing the long game. And I remember when I was in one of my coaching classes with Dan Sullivan, he had everybody make a 25-year commitment in that class. He said, if you create a 25-year commitment to doing something, you will actually, you'll surpass whatever you want to set today on that 25-year. And I agreed to play a 25-year game, and I'm sort of like about maybe 8 or 10 years into that 25-year game, and he was talking about playing the long game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it also reminds me of something that we learned in a recent book we read. If you remember the hedgehog concept in Good to Great,
Yep.
where he compares the hedgehog and the fox, and always talks about how the fox is, the one that's always sneaking up on the hedgehog and really is the fast animal and wants to just come in and take the hedgehog, and the hedgehog just goes about its business. And it reminded me that actually the hedgehog is playing the long game and the fox is trying to figure out how to play the short game, which is always coming up with something new, a new and improved way, and that he's going to get over on the hedgehog. And slow and steady always wins, right?
Right.
And being consistent and being committed and doing the long game, and that's basically what we're playing. There's another story out there that's similar to the hedgehog concept, which is the turtle and the rabbit. And we always, a lot of us have heard that, and slow and steady always wins the race,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we're playing the long game, and what I'd like to differentiate right now is some of the behaviors that show up on people that are playing the short game and people that are playing the long game.
Yeah.
And those that are playing the short game primarily are motivated by fear of loss, and mainly are in a position where they're always in defense,
Gotcha.
because they have to make a big improvement in a short period of time, so they're always like defensive and they're trying to make something happen really quickly. And it all comes from, in my opinion, it comes from the fear. If we're playing a long game, we're not worried about the fear of like making mistakes in the short run.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Because you basically become who you become learning from those mistakes you make. Short game players run when things get tough. A lot of short-term players are quitters. Like when the game gets tough, or when it gets tough, they get going. They
Right.
don't stick out. for the long run, because they're always looking for what's easy. How can I get the easiest thing?
Yeah.
And if I can't get it here, I'm going to get it somewhere else. Right?
Exactly, and then it never happened. So
Yeah. Here's another one. Short-term players are looking for the easiest way. Like I said, long-term players are looking at the best way, and it's not always the easiest way. Sometimes it takes a lot more effort and work. Short-term players are looking for the quick buck. Long-term players know that the money will follow as they get better and as they do things better, right? Short-term players are afraid of change. Long-term players know that change is necessary for growth, and growth is necessary for accomplishment. Short-term players job hop. They're consistently, you look at their resumes and they're basically, 6 months here, 1 year there, 2 years here, 8 months there, and they're always looking for something that's not there. Right? Because they always think that there's something better out there, so I have to go looking, but eventually there isn't anything better. Everywhere you go, there you are, right? Mm-hmm. There's a saying that we have at HeroLand. I think that those playing the long game are better teammates and are committed to the people around them. And those that are playing the short game are more concerned about themselves. Long-term players are more selfless. Short-term players are more selfish, in my opinion. And I'm going to put this analogy in place, like those that are constantly going and buying lottery tickets, okay, looking for, how to win the lottery. If they would add up all the money they're spending on lottery tickets and put that into self-development, like books, reading and putting it back into themselves, will actually play the long game. The short game is, let me go buy a $10 lottery ticket and win a bunch of money, right? Because that's the easiest thing to do. So I'm playing the long game. I'm here for the long haul. I'm playing the long game. And, my message today to all of you listening to David's podcast is play the long game. It's a much better game to play. And, that's the difference between the long and the short game.
Yeah, no, definitely. Now we could go into things like mentioning Simon Sinek's book, The Infinite Game, which that's a great book.
Yeah, that's the long game. The Infinite Game is a long game.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and if you haven't read that one, you should. We should probably do it for book club after the next one. So
awesome.
I have the Audible of it anyway, so we can do that. But no, this is a great topic. It is something I've been thinking about for a long time, right? Because most people, this is my understanding and what I believe, most people are short-term thinkers, right?
Yeah.
They're playing the short game. It's day by day, right? Their back is always up against the wall, right? And because they don't take the time, they don't take the energy that it takes to get out of that spot and to become the long game person. So I know it's off the cuff, but if someone finds themselves and with enough self-reflection realizes they're a short game person,
yeah,
how would they become or transition into the long game player?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, it's just looking at the behaviors, as leaders, if you're, running a department, division, or a company, and you're playing the short game, then everybody else is going to play the short game. But if you're there for the long haul, if you're there to do the hard work, if you're there to, make a difference in people's lives for many years, and are playing the long game, then you will eventually identify those that are playing the short game. Because I think right now, what happened to me is that as soon as my coach identified and put some meaning to, the behavioral differences between me and the group that we were looking at partnering with, I was able to immediately understand that it was like turning the lights on and going, oh, like there it is. So the first thing is, I think, is understanding and knowing how to identify behaviors and then packaging it as the short game or the long game. And if you do have people that are playing the short game, then talk to them about playing the long game and the benefits of playing the long game, the benefits of being committed. I mean, the long game also is not only at work, but it's also with family and other things as well. I mean, I remember, like, I've been married, like, a long time, over 25 years now. And I remember, when I got married, I told my wife, that's it. This is it. Even if things get tough, we're sticking it out.
Yep.
We're going to stick out anything that happens. You don't give up on me, I'll never give up on you. And things were tough, and there was times where I just thought that maybe the right thing to do was walk. Okay, but that would have been a short game move.
Yeah.
Right?
No, 100%.
And how many times do you see, somebody that's been married 6 times?
Yeah.
And then you're wondering, well, where is really the problem?
Right.
Is the problem really with those 6 other people, or do you really have a problem, right?
Yeah. I mean, that would explain the very, very high divorce rate we have as a society, right? Just you combine how many people are the short game players.
Right.
And it explains it right there.
But see, if we identify it and somebody can actually look at it and go, yeah, I connect with that. I see that I've been playing the short game and I want to move on and I want to play the long game. That's the game I want to play. And that's when you actually realize the behaviors you need to put in place to play the long game. That's when you have to stick it out, where you have to work harder. When things get tough, you got to get tougher. Right. Instead of just when things get tough, you got to, jam out the door and find an easier place.
Yeah. No, it's playing the long game in every aspect should be the goal.
Absolutely.
It's with that, it's easy to walk, right? It's easy just to give up. It's easy just to be like, oh, nope, that didn't work. I'll go do something else now. But at the end of the day, at the end of life, right? When you look back, what are you looking at?
Yeah, exactly. So play the long game.
Play the long game, guys. All right, and if you're still here, which you are, because I know you, audience, there's a fee for this show. The fee is very simple. Doesn't even cost you anything other than time. Rate, review, subscribe, and then share the show so we can make the show grow. That's this week's episode of Hero Talk. Thank you, John.
Thank you very much.